Hello and welcome to HITC Sport, and who's ready for another angry rant about the disgrace that is the European Super League? Christ, I don't know where to begin. Ever since this story broke on Sunday afternoon, it just hasn't left my mind. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same. Like, what the actual Right, so I made this video on Tuesday afternoon, and literally ever since the moment I uploaded it to YouTube ready to be published on Wednesday morning, the whole landscape has been turned upside down. Chelsea are dropping out after protests at Stamford Bridge, Man City are dropping out, the whole thing is in tatters. Ed Woodward has even resigned as the chairman of Manchester United according to reports at the time of recording. The whole European Super League has gone up in flames, and good riddance to it. It was a terrible idea made by greedy owners who don't know the first thing about proper football, but that does not mean they should be brushed under the carpet. These people, these clubs, they have to be sanctioned for all this. We should not be patting teams on the back for backing out. If it wasn't for the backlash, they'd still be sat there wondering how on earth they're going to spend their first £300 million. Fans of these clubs, these owners let you down. They've dragged your good name through the mud for a shot at a few extra pounds. But it looks like it's all going to be stopped. Well, it looks like that. By the time this video goes up, who knows what will happen? No, my luck, YouTube will have been bloody disbanded. So everything you're about to see was filmed before all this news came out, but I still think the majority of what I've had to say is relevant, and the bits that no longer make sense I've taken out. So let's go back to me from a few hours earlier in the day. Right, as we all know, 12 European clubs have agreed to form a breakaway league called the European Super League. It'll be a 20-team tournament broken into two groups of 10, and then it'll eventually whittle down to a final. But no matter what happens, the founding members remain in the division. There's no relegation, there's no competition. No matter what happens, even if you lose, there is nothing to worry about, because you will still be in the competition year after year after year, competing for a soulless trophy where the final is held on the moon in front of the richest people in the world and a select group of aliens who've somehow wangled their way in. Christ, this video is getting away from us already. It's disgusting, it's shameless, it's embarrassing, it is capitalism in the purest sense of the word, and the sad thing is, it's been coming for a while. This competition shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Bigger clubs wanting a bigger slice of the pie should not be a surprise. I think it was October last year when talk of this European Super League first surfaced, and the response was pretty unanimous. Fans did not want it. We've had Project Big Picture as well, where the big teams in the Premier League want more money and want more power because they think they're so damn entitled. This European Super League hasn't came out of nowhere, it's been in the works for a long time. Ever since football went away from being about football and scoring goals and to being more about profit margins and running a successful business. I'm sorry, but in the grand scheme of things, no matter who you support, your owners do not care about you. I don't support any of these 12 teams who want to wipe their backsides with £50 notes. I've got no emotional attachment to them. I just have rage at the fact that they want to take away the game that me and thousands, in fact millions, billions even, billions of people have loved ever since they were a kid. A game that has somehow given me a profession and allowed me to make money. A game that has allowed me to keep my job during my pandemic. A game that has brought me closer to friends, taken me to places in the world I've never been before in my life. A game that these people want to take away from the fans who made it what it is today. But as I say, I'm not a fan of one of these teams. If you are a fan of one of these 12 teams, genuinely, I feel so sorry for you. This is what your owners think of you. They do not care at all. They have shown their true colours, but to be honest, their true colours we already knew they had, or were just too disillusioned to admit. Elite football has not been about the fans for years now, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. If you're a fan of one of these clubs, genuinely I don't really know what to suggest. Sure, it might not happen and life might go on as normal, but we will always know what these people try to do to the game of football, what they try to do to your club, to some of the most historic clubs in the world, national institutions that can make you proud to be from where you're from, a sense of belonging, togetherness, community spirit. Christ, I'm rambling here, but it's genuine. This is a disgrace at what they are trying to do to these clubs and what they are trying to do to our game. I don't know how fans of these clubs can recover. Did anyone care about Leeds vs Liverpool on Monday night? I certainly didn't. The match was irrelevant. Sure, Leeds players wore some emphatic t-shirts, but what happened on the pitch didn't matter. I mean, who cares how Liverpool play now? No matter what, they're guaranteed to be in their corporate European Super League, making all their cash. And to be honest, they're not even the worst team involved. I mean, Arsenal and Tottenham, how on earth have they got in this? Am I going to watch the League Cup final on Sunday? Probably not, because neither team wants competition. They want a guaranteed lump of money each and every year with no fear of repercussions if the players don't get the job done on the pitch. And the players and the managers are the ones who are having to front this now. They're the ones who are getting put in front of the media and the press, having to answer for the decisions made by their employers. They're being treated like pawns in a game of chess that they probably don't want to be involved in. James Milner said it himself, he doesn't want to do it. He set a great precedent for other players in the coming days and weeks. Hopefully they will follow his lead and see themselves that they don't want to do it either. Right, it's me again. The next minute or so doesn't make sense at all now with the latest developments in this story, but the video just didn't flow without it, so I'm just going to have to include it and I'll sound like an idiot for the next minute or so. Let's see what I've got to say. So then what happens? Surely these clubs will just find players who do want to play in this competition, who do want the massive contracts to play in the lucrative games each and every week. Great, that's their prerogative. But really, I don't see any way in which this European Super League doesn't happen now. Surely we've gone too far with it. Yeah, there's been loads of backlash, but what does public perception matter? The leak last year proved that people didn't want to do it, and clearly the fact that they are going ahead shows they're not bothered what people think. They're just going to rely on the fact that when it eventually kicks off, people are going to tune in, people are going to buy tickets, and people are going to absorb the new cash cow in town that's going to try and milk you dry for every last penny you've got. And once they've done that, they'll move on to the next sucker who wants a ticket. The only way I can see something big happening against the European Super League here is if the Premier League, La Liga and Serie A, if they all come out and say, great, if you want to have a European Super League, go for it. But if you do, you cannot be in our domestic leagues. There has to be the threat of expulsion, relegation or whatever it is. There's got to be sanctions. In fact, it can't just be a threat. It's got to be cold, hard facts. They've got to have legal reasons backing up why they can do it. They've got to have proof that they can do this. They have the power to chuck these teams out if they want to go ahead with this European Super League. Then it's up to the clubs. Then you find out how truly serious they are about this. If they still want to go ahead with the European Super League, to pot with them. We'll just kick on without them. See what I mean? Turns out there is a way that the European Super League won't happen. Anyway, let's get back to the video. But that's easy for me to say as someone who isn't a supporter of one of these clubs. The sad decision for fans of these teams is, do you continue to follow the club that you've poured your heart into, or do you walk away because it no longer represents what you fell in love with? It all comes down to money at the end of the day, and that's the sad reality of it all. But I'd love to know how many other teams would take up the chance to go into the European Super League if they'd been offered it. If they'd been offered this cash, would they say yes? It's easy to say no, you wouldn't do it when you weren't invited. It's like me saying I didn't want to go and see Oasis on the final UK tour. The reality is I just couldn't get tickets. The anger from fans is completely genuine, but the anger from broadcasters, other clubs, government, whoever it is, it's all hypocrisy. It's a bunch of greedy people just angry at something even greedier than they are. That's all this boils down to, greed and power. You've got TV companies who are angry, the same TV companies who try to charge you £15 for a game at the start of the season and were told where to go by fans. It's the broadcasters who are angry, the same broadcasters who move games at a whim with no consideration of the fans, who travel the lengths of the country to support their team with their hard-earned cash. You've got a Premier League complaining who led a similar breakaway back in 1992 that spawned the greed we're seeing today. Yes, that helped the game in ways and brought more money into it, but you give someone an inch and they'll take a yard, and now these clubs want to take the whole entire game. We've got a Prime Minister condemning the European Super League whilst he runs a government that's littered with corruption, contracts being handed out to pals of families of MPs. It's despicable and it's happening in all walks of life because people are f***ing greedy. And all of this is happening in a global pandemic. The European Super League even used that as an excuse in their statement when they launched the whole thing. I mean, cry me a river. Boo-hoo, Man United, just because you've lost a few million quid because you haven't been allowed to let fans into your tatty stadium and charge them 15 quid for a naff burger and a bottle of pop. People have lost their lives, people have lost their jobs, people with a much smaller capacity for cash than you. Some of these scumbags even put their staff on furlough when the whole thing went to pot this time last year, expecting someone else to foot the bill so they didn't have to. I'm not going to feel sorry for the rich man not being as rich anymore. I'm going to feel sorry for the football clubs who were worried they were going to fall out of existence. The teams that we lost even before the pandemic hit. Bury went extinct. We nearly lost Bolton Wanderers. Where was this kind of displeasure, this kind of outrage when these whole football clubs were nearly going to disappear, or in Bury's case, did disappear? In fact, where is this outrage when a player, or anyone in society to be honest with you, suffers racial abuse? It's almost something that's just accepted now, as week after week there's a new story about someone else being racially abused. Most places you go in the UK, you're not going to be far away from poverty. You've got kids going hungry, you've got people living on the streets, yet the government who caused all this are going to throw their fists up in anger at something even greedier than they are. You can see what the hell's this got to do with football, but at the end of the day, this is the harsh reality of life in the 21st century, where the rich continue to get richer and the gap continues to grow. Football is a microcosm of society a lot of times, and this is the perfect example. The big clubs are going to become even richer than they already are, whilst the smaller clubs who will suffer. But no one's going to give a toss about Tranmere or Boreham Wood or whoever else when it comes to a Wednesday night and the blockbuster tie of Real Madrid and Barcelona kicks off for the 18th time this season. Sport is not business. The appeal of sport is about seeing who comes out on top. It is about the competition. It is about teams going head to head and seeing who is the best. I should be able to take a team of 11 players and just random people I've found off the street and know that no matter how slim it is, we still have a chance of competing and beating the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea. That's why the FA Cup is still so appealing. That's why the early stage of the FA Cup is elite football in its purest form. Teams should be playing for trophies, not to try and make the most money. And at the end of the day, it's not like we ever see this money, as it always just goes into the owner's back pocket. No team should be more powerful than the other. Yes, I understand that the more casual people want to watch Man City or Arsenal, but that does not mean that they should be hold other clubs to ransom. There has to be competition, otherwise there's literally no point. It's just an endless cycle of nothingness and despair, when you might as well have spent your time doing something else, rather than consuming the latest fad that'll just die off and be replaced by something more lucrative in the future. The greed of the rich will never cease to amaze me. They want to be richer than you, and you. The sense of entitlement is astonishing. Tottenham don't deserve anything, Arsenal don't deserve anything. The Milan teams, you can pick out and analyse each of the 12 teams who signed up for this and argue why they are not entitled to anything. But it is the owners who do not care. It is the owners who have signed up to this. They are not representative of the clubs they are fortunate to own. They are not representative of the fans they have inherited. They are not representative of the history that their predecessors created. Football is changing, and not for the better. Football should be for the fans, but it hasn't been for a long time, and now we've reached breaking point. European Super League, get in the bin. So there we have it, those are my views on the European Super League saga. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport, and until next time we will see you around.